Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Good to have you here, Irene. Nadole. Hey, Nadole, it's been ages. Good to see you. Good to see you. Priscilla, good to have you here as well. It's always great to come your way on Saturday mornings with the book club. And today we are discussing 48 Laws of Power. We started last week and we are. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. We are back again, and it's always exciting to come your way with this thing. I mean, knowledge is potential power, not power. You have to be able to activate that knowledge to make the most of it. And so it's always good to be here to share that with you. And I'm happy that you have joined me this morning. Happy to have you here. All of you joining us on social media, good to have you as well. All right, ladies, interestingly today, all of you are ladies. Hope the gentlemen will join us as we go along. But good to have you. Irene, how has your week been?
Very, very good. Yeah, it's been an interesting one. How about you, Edie?
Oh, it's been good. It's been good. I mean, starting a new project, so it's always exciting. It's challenging, but well, how for you?
Oh, that's nice. I like your new background, though. The plain background. It's also nice. Too.
Charlie, we are learning on the job, so how for you?
Sharp, sharp, cry.
And now the it's been ages. Where have you been hiding? How's the family?
By God's grace, everything is fine. I've been a little busy, but by God's grace, we are.
And Priscilla, you joined us earlier, so we had a brief conversation. Hope everything is well.
Yes, please, Doc. All is well.
Awesome. Well, last week we discussed chapters 1 to 4. This week we hope to finish up to chapter 10 of the book, the 48 Laws of Power. And for those who have not been following us, this is the book. I hope you can grab your copies. It's a very controversial book. However, the reviews are also been very, very positive. So yes, it means that there's a lot of great information in there. So grab your copy and join us. And I mean, every Saturday morning we are here for this month. It's going to be awesome. So I don't know who wants to start. Maybe Priscilla, you start us off. So let's go to chapter 5 and then see what it says over there.
Okay, thank you, Doc. From the chapter 5, it says that so much depends on reputation. We should guard it with our life. My take home from that chapter was that let me take my time. If we live very well, and if we live our lives very well, the qualities of our lives tend to speak for us in places when we cannot talk for ourselves, and when we are not present, it tends to speak for us. Either ways, when we also live a life that has a low reputation, and when we live a life that the reputation is quite questionable, it also tends to dent our characters in places that we cannot stand to defend ourselves. That's what I learned from that particular chapter.
That's great. I mean, yes, I mean, the opening line is talks about reputation is the cornerstone of power. So sometimes even without saying a word, you probably win the battle, And I don't know if you mentioned the Chuko Liang story. I'm sure Irene will give us a gist of that. Irene, where are you?
Kelvin, please mention the name of the person again. Let me see if I remember the story.
Chuko Liang, the sleeping dragon.
The sleeping? No.
Okay.
I remember. Wait. So this guy had a reputation that he did sort of like magic tricks or something like that, or that he would do the unexpected. So what happened was that, it was this time when there were all these wars and then all that, so all these tactics for wars. So what happened was this guy, this Tripolian, what's happened, the sleeping dragon, all his colleagues who had left him, the ones who fought with him had left him and then gone to another city or something like that, or they had just left for some time. So when his enemies noticed that the people who were with him had left, they decided to attack him at that moment because, of course, they knew that he'd be vulnerable. So then what he did was that when he heard the news or he saw that they were approaching, he he first of all asked the few people who were with him. He knew that this fight, it would be very difficult for them to win because they're in a vulnerable position with less people around. So he told the few people who were with him that they should go and then hide. Then he went to sit on top of a mountain, and then he started chanting things like he started like, looking as if he's in, like what the witch doctors and those people do. Like he started like doing some particular things, meditating on top of the mountain and all that. So when his enemy started approaching him, they saw him on top of the mountain. They were like, what is this guy doing? And he had a reputation for doing like magic tricks, unexpected things, so you might never know what to expect from him. So when the head of the army, who was trying to come and then capture their camp, saw him up on the mountain, he was doing his chanting and things, he was like, hey, this thing, maybe he's trying to do something against them, so they should go back. So the man actually told his army that they should go back, and then they went back. And you see, the funny thing was that he really wasn't doing anything, no, but then that saved him because he already had a reputation for doing really weird things. So when they saw him doing that, they actually thought that he could do something against their army. Meanwhile, he didn't really have anything. So the reputation actually saved his life. I hope I got the right story, Dr. Kelvin.
Yes, that's definitely the right story. I mean, so the reputation of trickery and being a key strategist. When they saw him on top of the wall, they assumed there was a trap, because why is it that an army is approaching and then you are just sitting on top of the wall? It means that his army is somewhere in hiding, waiting for them to enter the city, and then they'll trap them and kill them. So yeah. So I mean, that's the story. So basically, I was just reinforcing the fact that reputation is important. But as usual, they go. I mean, we go to the reversal, and it talks about in this case, there's no reversal of this particular law. Your reputation is important. The other laws preceding this one, they spoke about how, in as much as the laws are there, you don't have to apply it in every situation because sometimes it could backfire. But in this case, they are saying that reputation is everything, and it's true. Reputation is everything. If you have a reputation, a bad reputation, nobody will trust you with anything good, And so we really need to protect our reputation. I mean, what kind of impact or what kind of reputation are you trying to build? Because that will determine the kind of people that are going to come your way, the kind of opportunities you're going to get. So it's really, really important that we guard our reputation with our life. So I think this is one of the more straightforward chapters. So we are not even going to waste much time here at all. We are going to go on straight to the next one. Except Nadole, were you able to join the book? Do you have anything to add to the chapter 5?
Today I don't have much to say. So if you can skip me for today, I beg you.
All right, no problem. All right, so we move on to chapter 6. But we are picking the salient points in these chapters so that we can if there's any area that was confusing, if there's anything that was bothering you or anything you didn't agree with, you can share with us and we'll see how we can chip in. But like I started by saying, this book is already quite controversial. A lot of the laws, Charlie, it's not easy, but let's see how it goes. So chapter 6 is talking about courting attention at all costs. You need to court attention at all costs. Now, I mean, I think the marketing and branding people do this well. I mean, they say there's nothing like bad PR. And so whatever it is that you're going through, if it's a good thing, if it's a bad thing, there's a way you can put a spin on it and maximize the outcome in terms of whatever you can do, the appeal or the brand recognition, so there's nothing like bad PR. And that's what I got when I read this chapter, court attention at all costs. And it says everything is judged by its appearance. What is unseen counts for nothing. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd. Never let yourself get lost in the crowd then or buried in oblivion. Stand out, be conspicuous at all costs. Make yourself a magnet of attention by appearing larger, more colorful, more mysterious than the bland and timid masses. What do you think, Priscilla?
Doc, I agree. One statement in this chapter that really struck me was that they said that nobody honors the timid, and which is true. You can stand out by the way you talk, by your appearance and your style of doing one or two things. That's what I really kind of took from this chapter.
Great. How about Irene?
Yeah, I think that I agree with what you both said so far. And yeah, I was thinking that basically you need to stand out in some way, right? I think in part of the chapter he mentioned that you need to spend your energy on attracting attention. And then I guess that's what's needed to stand out, or that's what's needed to attract more opportunities, right? Sometimes you see that, oh, okay, you can hide in the shadows and the nothing, but then, there are different speakers who say that you have to shine your lights, because if you don't shine your light, then other people too won't see the light, right? Won't be able to be inspired by it. So I think that it's all in line with actually using your skills and then, using them to make a mark in your industry. I think that basically that's what happened. I mean, look at over last weekend, the cookathon that Hilda did, right? I mean, that's definitely a way to court attention. People will know her for ages and ages and ages to come. I mean, even throughout this week, I'm sure that at different points, each one of us, were inspired by her, right? Like in different ways. So I guess that she spends her energy on attracting attention. So in our own individual ways, we can find different ways. If it's social media that wants you to attract attention, if it's traditional media, anyway. But then I guess that more opportunities will come your way if you attract attention. I was following the Hilda Basi story on Twitter. Brands are reaching out, people are reaching out with vacations to Maldives. She had a press conference recently, like a whole lot. And this is going to open up other opportunities. So I guess that also means that we need to strategically plan how we want to attract attention and then go for it. And yeah, that could open up other life-changing opportunities for us. Yeah. So that's it for me.
Great, great. And the interesting thing is that after her feat, right? Others have come out and they are saying that she's not the only Nigerian with the world record, But the question is, what have you done to call attention with your record? Nobody remembers that you have a world record. What did you do before? What did you do during? What did you do after? We don't know you, but she had done a lot of PR before. And then look at the massive following during and then even after, blowing up left and right. So even though she's not the only Nigerian with the world record, well, she's the only Nigerian with the world record that we know about. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. So we need to call attention by all means at all costs. It makes sense, which is why we cannot afford to be shy. Charlie, that shyness, it doesn't put money in your pocket. So those of us who are shy, how do we break out of this shyness? Priscilla, how can you help us break out of the shyness?
No, please, I'm not learning.
Yeah, but I mean it's important. And this also applies now. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to add more point to it, that I've come to realize that sometimes it's not really the best thing that has the how should I say it, attention. Is you selling yourself, because sometimes maybe she might not be the best cook in the world, but because of what she did, she sold herself. Now she's known. Perhaps her food is not as extraordinary as someone else, but she sold herself well. And now it has created more opportunities and more doors and more money for her. And so you might be in your corner and be like, maybe saying you are the best in this, but nobody knows you are the best in that field. And so you always have to sell yourself in some way, and then it opens doors. I think that's what I've realized.
That's the way to go, Charlie. She sold herself. It's not the best that sells. It's the one that we know about. It can't, and even look at the brand, like branded things versus what's it called? Branded things versus the generic things, right? There might not be anything, whether it's medication or even clothing. I mean, there might not be any difference between the branded shoe or the unbranded one, but people flock to the branded one because it's the branded one that they have been doing a lot of adverts, a lot of marketing, a lot of endorsements, right? So it's not about having the best product. It's all down to how the product is packaged and how the product is marketed, So this is actually a lesson to myself, Charlie. Branding, I mean, marketing is very, very important. So we need to put some money aside and use it for marketing so that people know that this is available and it's of this quality and it's of that quality and like that. Because the more people know, the more likely that they are going to opt to purchase it or opt to use it, whatever they are doing. So yeah, not only you're right on point. Thank you very much. And you know, this point about causing attention also applies in fashion. I mean, I remember there was a time I was checking out some fashion advice, right? And he spoke about how if you are short, or the shorter you are, the louder you should dress. You know, because you're already smallish, you know, you are short. Everybody is towering above you. So if you blend into the crowd, then it's easy to get walked over. So you want to wear something that, you know, it stands out. You know, so if everybody is wearing blue, you should wear red. You know, something to give you an extra edge. You know, in the same way, if you're overweight, or if you are plump, or if you are obese, you don't want to wear things that enhance your obesity. So you don't want to wear what this is horizontal number. Yeah, horizontal is this way. So you don't want to wear horizontal lines. Hey, please, am I correct? The horizontal is this way, horizontal is this way. I'm getting confused. You know, so you don't want to wear horizontal lines. You want to wear vertical, because vertical sort of gives you height. But if you wear horizontal, it sort of adds to your volume, you know. So this applies in fashion. So we have to apply them in everything that we are doing. It makes a lot of sense to put the right attention, of course. Even though any form of PR is good PR, it pays for it to be a positive kind of PR, so that we don't do too much work. Let's see, there's a reversal of this one. Okay, so in the beginning of your rise to the top, you must attract attention at all costs. But as you rise higher, you must constantly adapt. Never wear the public out with the same tactic. I guess I dare say that's why people are upset with Shatawale nowadays, Charlie, because he has been doing the same thing over and over again, and now people are just tired of him. And am I the only one that feels like that?
He has been doing TikToks and all those things recently, like a whole lot of things, yeah, to keep the hype up.
I tell you, it's not easy to be at the top, eh? All right, now let's go on to chapter 7, or law number 7. Get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Now, this is one of the most controversial ones I've come across so far. Because from where I sit, from my perspective, or what I've been taught, what I've learned, you know, sharing the stage is important. I mean, in network marketing, we always share the stage. You want to bring others up, you know, give them the credits, you know, hype them, etc. But now this law is literally going against all of that. It says that get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. Irene, this one, it will come straight to you.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting. Somehow I'm trying to remember the story around it. I'm not. But I was thinking that, so, you know, as you are saying, so it means that you alone will like take all the hype. I was thinking though that maybe it could fall in line with, you know, people like who work with other people, right? Maybe I was thinking that, you know, maybe in terms of time saving, where you could get other individuals to do parts of the work, but then at the end of the day, you know, it's your brand that's out there, it's a name that's out there. But then again, the question will come that, okay, so won't you recognize them in any way? Like, for instance, let's take an example of maybe like a fashion designer, right? So maybe I have Kelvin MD Designs, right? And then I come to Kelvin MD Designs. That's the newest brand for Dr. Kelvin, no? I come to Kelvin MD Designs. They're like, okay, so I need to travel like next week. So can you give me like 5 kaftans or something to travel with? And then he goes like, okay, so like I'm really full up. Then what Kelvin MD Designs does is that he goes to find another tailor, and you give the items to him. Then you come and then put his brand. You know, some of the fashion designers, they do that, right? They come and then put his branding on it and say that, okay, so it comes from Kelvin MD Design. So he actually got somebody to do the work, but he got the credit and then pass it off as his. I don't know if that modern day example would, you know, really apply. But then I'm guessing that maybe that might be the best sense to use. That might be the best way to do this, to save yourself time in doing some task. You know, there are different teachers also who say things like, some things are not really worth you're doing, like the Jewish phenomenon, right? It was basically saying that how you need to save time by giving the work to others to do. So maybe that could also be another way of looking at it. How can you save yourself time by giving individuals tasks so that maybe you can focus on the tasks that require the greater level of your creativity? Yeah, so I think that those are my thoughts around that particular chapter. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, even we do it as well. I'm talking about in my food processing company. There are other companies
Okay.
that we actually produce. They produce what they put in their own packaging and then they brand it as their own, and they are running around and doing their own thing. But I mean, in those situations, it usually tends to be a win-win situation because I mean we still get paid. You know, it's a process actually called white labeling, and it happens or private labeling. It happens across the world. You know, there, for instance, I don't know if you are aware, but a lot of the bottled water is actually coming from one company. A lot of the bottled water in Ghana comes from one company. So the company does all
Wow.
yes. The company does all the bottling, and then the other companies come and take them and go and label it, and then that's it, they are selling. So a lot of the bottled water in Ghana currently is actually coming from one company. Yeah, so I mean, it happens a lot. But in this case, so for instance, the story they are sharing is in respect of Nikola Tesla and Edison. So Tesla actually worked for Edison. And, you know, Tesla was actually very, very instrumental in the development of electricity, the AC-DC argument. Edison believed in DC, Tesla believed in AC. Edison actually contracted Tesla to develop AC, right? But along the line, even though Tesla was successful, nobody remembers what he did except the historians who went to dig it up eventually, right? Because Edison took all the credits. You know, so I mean, I don't think it's the best story, but hey, it's what happened, and it's still happening. You know, so well, it's a tough law. I mean, because if you are taking all the credits and you're not giving people their due, I wonder how that would feel for the rest of them. I don't know if Napoleon or Priscilla has a take on it. Priscilla, do you?
Please come again. I didn't hear what you said.
I was saying that you have a take on this law about doing.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hello.
Yeah, Priscilla, we can hear you. I was saying that the law says that get other people to do the work and then take all the credits. And I was if you had a take on that.
Yeah, I certainly agree, but it depends on how the person you do it. Let's take, for instance, the monarchy that we have here, and also like the government that we have in every nation. They always delegate the jobs to other people, but they always take the credit for everything that is being done. And nobody mentions like whoever did the actual work, but always the credit is being given to those in the higher position. So I think it's always good to delegate, just as the book says that it gives you this kind of a godlike aura. It's true, but just that you, the leader, should not rub it in the face of people to make them feel less. That's all I can say.
It's not easy being a leader, eh? You have to balance everything. You have to balance everything left and right, Charlie. It is well. Natalie, are you sharing something? I know you are busy, but you know when you speak, we are all excited.
Please, so maybe I think when you are running a business, that's what actually takes place. Like, for example, your business, you take the glory and the workers are the one who do the work. But I think maybe you can find other ways of appreciating your workers and your team. For example, like maybe internally you give them rewards for their hard work and everything, and actually tell them that they are the reason why the business is where it is. So you are actually giving credit internally, but externally maybe you can't really give that much credit. But externally to maybe on occasions like awards and things, it's just nice to say thanks to the team as well who helped you get to where you are. Yeah, so that's what I think. So I agree somewhat and not agree somewhat. I don't know if it's okay.
Well, let's see what the reversal says. It says there are times when taking the credit for work that others have done is not the wise course. If your power is not firmly enough established, You will seem to be pushing people out of the limelight. To be a brilliant exploiter of talent, your position must be unshakable, or you will be accused of deception. I think these people have complicated my life, but now I don't know what they want us to do anymore. Yeah, so basically, at least from where I said, it's saying that you must establish a position as a leader. So I think if I take it from what Napoleon is saying, if you are not paying your staff well, for instance, and they are coming up with great suggestions, and then you are taking the credit for the suggestion they are bringing up after implementing it, I mean, it's going to generate some bitterness, you see. But if you are rewarding them well enough, and everybody is motivated to continue doing it, of course, eventually everybody knows that the company is yours, they're working for you, so you are going to take the credit at some point. But because I mean, if you didn't employ the right people, then obviously the work will not be done. So I mean, it doesn't matter how you look at it, the success is yours because you allowed the right people to come into the fold in the first place, and you give them the resources they need to do the work they are doing. So it's yours to claim. But it's also good to give them some reward, incentives, some of the praise every now and then. Don't hold the stage all the time, because people are going to get tired of hearing from you. I mean, in fact, sometimes we do it to even the big men. I'm talking about the successful people. People keep asking, who have you raised? Like, out of your fold, who can you point to and say that this person came from my mentorship program, or this person came through my ranks and he's now a CEO of his own, or he's now a music star of his own, or he's now a movie star of his own? So it pays to give to raise other people as well, to give them some of the stage, not all the stage, because the stage belongs to you, but allow them to also come and take some of the shine, some of the glory, so that they can develop themselves, so that when you are not there, the company does not collapse, because companies should be able to transcend the founders. So it's very, very important. So yeah, I mean, that's my take on this law. Anybody has anything else to add? Otherwise, we move to number 8. All right, great. Let's go on to law number 8 then. Of course, for those of us who are joining on the social media platforms as well, please, you can drop your questions, you can drop your feedback. Let's hear from you. Let's engage, and let's do what needs to be done. All right. So law number 8 is saying that make other people come to you. Ooh la la. Make other people come to you. Use bait if necessary. Now it says that when you force the other person to act, you are the one in control. It's always better to make your opponent come to you, abandoning his own plans in the process. Lure him with fabulous gains, then attack. You hold the card. Now, I mean, Irene, I'm sure you remember this. This is something that we actually practice a lot in network marketing, where we spoke about how you shouldn't go to somebody's office, go and do a presentation, because that's the person's comfort zone, the person's stronghold. When you go and you do that, the person has all the power. So you should always try and move the person out of their comfort zone to some place that you are comfortable, or to a neutral place. And this law definitely makes that point, because if you go to the person, it's like you are in need of the person's services, which is why, for instance, when you go to the market to buy something, and then you go to one person who has exactly what you want, and you don't hide your excitement, that person can easily charge you like double or sometimes even triple the actual cost. So you need to you need to find ways and means of turning the scenario around so that you are the one in control. You hold the cards. Reject the thing, even though deep down you want it. I don't know, Irene, the way you're laughing, please let's hear from you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that I was just laughing about the market woman example because I'm the bedroom, so I was just laughing. And
Yes.
I think that what you're saying reminded me of posture, in network marketing. They're like, act some sort of aloof way, be like, just as they are saying, not to sound too over eager to make the sale or something, because that could also affect the sale at the end of the day, right? The prospect will see you, the person you're trying to sell to will see as, sort of desperate or something. So yeah, those tactics are also important as well. Then I remembered another example from the book. This, I think it was the Japanese-Russian war or something. And what happened was that I think it was the Japanese wanted the Russians, I don't know which party wanted one party to come. But then I think that basically one party wanted, the Japanese also, they wanted the Russians to come to them, right? They wanted to fight them on like a turf where they would be more comfortable fighting. So they didn't go around to, should I say, the camp of the Russians or something. They had to, they asked the Russians, to come over to them. Now, the tricky thing that they did was that when the Russians had set sail to come to them, so like they were on different islands or something, when the Russians set sail to come to them, at a point, the Japanese gave word out, I think that through those times they used spies or something. So the Japanese sent word out that they were also coming to meet the Russians. So the Russians were like, they came in battle mode, throughout the sail towards the Japanese land, they were in battle mode because the Japanese had sent out false news that they were coming out to meet them. So, of course, if your enemy is coming to meet you, stay in battle mode, right? So they stayed in battle mode throughout. And the Japanese didn't come, they were staying on their island, So what happened was that these people stayed in battle mode throughout the sail and to the island. And when they got there, they were tired. So when they got there, the Japanese were actually able to conquer them because they were rested, they had energy, they were good to go to fight, right? So they were able to conquer them. So I guess that this was one example that he used to explain how we should let our enemies come to us, right? So in this case, because they stayed calm, they were just waiting, they let their enemies come to them. They were actually able to conquer their enemies. So that's also another example that I'm thinking of along this line of being patient and letting the person come to you. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you are right. You're very right. Priscilla, how about what do you think?
Doc, I agree with Irene on what she's saying. And also what she said. It's always good to let other people come to you. But whilst you try to make them come, you also have to be unbeatably valuable and then be able to deliver in a way that it cannot be questioned. So yeah, I think that's what I can say.
All right. There was also the story about Napoleon. When he was banished from Paris to the island of Elba, they still wanted to kill him because he was still quite influential, right? But then they knew that going to the island was a bit dangerous, because islands have some sort of natural protection because once you're coming from the sea, they'll see you and then put their defenses up, so it was a bit difficult. So they had to find ways and means of getting him to leave the island. And so they used bait. They used the fact that the current king of France was weak, and then the people were still in love with him and all that. So he did actually eventually leave the island and head back to try to take over Paris again, which he actually did take over Paris. But eventually he fell because, the coffers were empty and then he was not prepared for war, but he had to go because if you don't fight, you won't get what is due you. And so the bait eventually led to him being captured and I think he was being killed. So yes, it works. Get people out of their comfort zone and it's easier to deal with them. It's kind of like, let me give you a typical example. You go to the station to pick a car. Not like, okay, like you're coming from Kumasi to Accra, you get to Pokuasi, you drop. Now there's about 10 taxis lined up waiting for customers. If you make the mistake of trying to negotiate with one of the drivers in the midst of the other 9 drivers, you always end up paying a much higher price. So I learned this trick. I'll carry my bag and I'll walk past the 10 taxis. One driver will always follow you. One of them will always follow you. So you ask, okay, so when I get to the temple, I ask, how much is it to go to this place? You say, oh, 50 Ghana, 60 Ghana, 100 Ghana. Now I say, I can't pay. Now I carry my bag and I'll go. One of them will always follow you. And then you end up paying 30 Ghana. or you go to one that is standing by himself and then you negotiate with that person. You always pay less than you would have paid if you had negotiated with the group. And so this is all part of the bait thing. I need a car. Yes, I know I need a car, but I'm not taking your car. I'm carrying my thing and I'm going. And I'll pretend as if I can walk to my house. Charlie, but I'm just going over here, charging me this money. What do you mean? I walk away. Somebody will always follow you. So you separated the person from the pack. And the animals also do this all the time. If a lion wants to attack and wants to catch a deer, they're not going to catch the deer when there are 20 deers or 100 deers. They'll always isolate one of them. they'll always isolate one of them and then they'll attack that one. So we need to know when to fight. We need to know the battles we need to pick. Don't go and attack people in a group. Always try and divide. When it comes to battles, Charlie, it's all about divide and conquer. And we are fighting battles every day. It could be battles at the office, battles in traffic, battles at the market. And of course, the market people especially, they also know this. In fact, anybody who sells also know this. That's why they also try to come together. That's why when you go to Makola, the tomato sellers always sit together. The onion sellers always sit together. Those selling clothing always sit together because they know that there's strength in numbers. It's difficult to negotiate down because when you are telling the person to reduce the price, the next person tell that, well, if you can't make I'll charge you even more. This one is saying I'll charge you more. So then the one selling is also now confused. It's entrenched. I'm not going to reduce my price because if I reduce my price, I'll lose. So they also know that there's strength in numbers. So you, as the one who wants to make the purchase, you need to find a way of dividing them, breaking that unity. It works. So try and apply it and see for yourself. All right, now let's see the reversal of this one. It says, although it is generally the wiser policy to make others exhaust themselves chasing you, there are opposite cases where striking suddenly and aggressively at the enemy so demoralizes him that his energies sink. Instead of making others come to you, go to them, force the issue, take the lead. Fast attack can be an awesome weapon for it forces the other person to react without the time to think. Again, this reversal blows the discussion wide open, but it's definitely true. Sometimes a surprise attack is all you need to make a huge difference. So yeah. All right. Any comments, any additions or subtractions for that matter before we move on to number 9? Irene, Nadole, Priscilla, anything? All right, let's go to number 9 then. Win through your actions, never through arguments. Interesting. Any momentary triumph you think you have gained through argument is really a Pyrrhic victory. The resentment and ill will you stir up is stronger and lasts longer than any momentary change of opinion. It is much more powerful to get others to agree with you through your actions without saying a word. Demonstrate, do not explicate. Irene, are you starting this one?
Yes, so I noted down the Michelangelo example, so that's what was able to remind me of the chapter. So Michelangelo, I'm sure that we've heard of him, like the painter and all that. Was it? Yeah, I think the painter or something. Yes, he sculpted something for one of these kings or something. So when the king came to see the statue that Michelangelo had done, he said that there's something wrong with the nose of the statue. And Michelangelo was like, okay, so he didn't really want to argue out with the king. He didn't really want to stretch the matter. So he took his chisel or his equipment or something. Then he went to stand there as if he was going to touch up the nose of the statue that he had done. So he stood there, and I think that what he did was that when he picked up his equipment, he also picked up a pile of dust in his hand. Then he told the king to watch what he was doing. So as he was like acting as if he's using his chisel to scrape away a bit of the nose of the statue, he actually was just pouring dust. So he gave the impression that he was actually working on the statue, and meanwhile he wasn't, right? Because basically he didn't want to drag the issue. I forgot there was another example in the book of somebody who dragged the issue and then something bad happened to him or something. But Michelangelo didn't want to drag the issue, so he gave the impression as if he was just like acting on what the gentleman had said. And there was a similar example where this man who was also contracted to build a temple, an office space or something like that, he was contracted to do it by one of these emperors in the olden times as well. So when he finished the building, it was like a really large building. I forgot what the space was used for. When he finished, the man came to tell him that he's afraid that his office, which is on the next floor, which is on like the floor above the ground floor, he's afraid that it's not stable enough. So the man should try to erect pillars or something. He asked him to erect 2 or 4 pillars so that his office becomes much more stable, right? Like let's say it's a huge building, so he needs pillars to make it more stable. Now, the designer of the building he knew that the building was already stable enough. He knew that where the man's office was up there, it was stable. But he didn't want to argue with the man. He just wanted to take action. So he builds pillars. But interestingly, he didn't let the pillars touch the ceiling of the building. So according to the book, it was years later when people were going to do some maintenance work or something like that on top of the building. Then they looked down and then saw that, so these pillars that the guy had told the man that he had built, no, they actually didn't touch the ceiling, right? So basically, they were really of non-essence, right? So this man, he didn't want to argue. He just let his actions speak. He put the pillars there in action as if they were going to do something, but actually they weren't doing anything. So I think those are the two examples I remember.
Yes, indeed, you're right. And years later, they actually discovered that the pillars he had erected was not even touching the building. So he just erected
Exactly.
to impress, to keep the guy quiet, but really the pillars were not doing anything. So he trusted him that much. And of course, there's also the opposite story where the soldiers wanted a battering ram to break down a wall, and they had requested a much bigger size, and the designer thought that the bigger size was not going to work. And so after much argument, he did the smaller size. And even though the smaller size did the job, because of the resistance that he had, the argument he had done and won the argument, he was still killed. So don't argue. If the person comes and is insisting that you do a particular thing, just do it for him or her. Let him go and do whatever he wants to do. If it doesn't work, he'll come back to you to do the correct thing. Because, of course, let the person know that what you are doing is not going to work out. But if that's what you want, I'll do it for you. That's all. And then if it goes and doesn't work, you're giving him a way back to come for that correction. That's the best way to go. Priscilla, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, please, I don't have anything to add.
All right, I'm about to trip and fall safe. So, this book has so much information. It's so impressive, the kind of knowledge that has been put together in the pages of this book. Now, let's see what the reversal talks about. The reversal is saying that verbal argument has one vital use in the realm of power: to distract and cover your tracks when you are practicing deception. This is deep. So basically, you argue to cover your tracks, but then your actions should actually show what you are really doing. Well, that's quite an interesting take. All right, let's move on to chapter 10. Chapter 10, or law number 10. What does it say? It says that infection, avoid the unhappy and the unlucky. This one, we don't even have to talk plenty. It's very, very true. This is where the whole concept of show me your friend and I'll show you your character, this is where it comes from. The kind of people that you associate with will determine what things that you yourself, how people perceive you. So you might not necessarily be what's it called? You might not necessarily be a bad person, but because you are rolling with bad people, everybody sees you as a bad person. So when they are catching the bad people, okay, let's use a relevant present day example. Look at what's happening to this monarch for real. Yesterday I saw an article, and the article, they are saying that all her when they say you are a person of interest, it means or her dealing. But just because you are associated with her, now the FBI is interested in your business. They're going to investigate all of them as well, and then see what they have been doing. So this law, that's how I understand this law. I don't know if anybody else wants to have it.
Your line was breaking. I thought it was only me until now I posted it too.
Yes, so I have to go and sort out some people, but I hope you can hear me now.
Yes, it's better.
Yes. So I was saying, so you had the example about the monarch for you situation. So anybody has anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I think that basically, they show me your friend and I'll show you your character, just as you've been saying, right? So if you associate with the right people, basically you are more likely to be seen as a person in right standing. There's this term, board credibility or something. I don't know if it's the right name for the term, but if you associate with people like who are of high standing, who are in a particular field where you want to go to, people somehow assume that you have the same kind of characteristics of that person. So I'm thinking that that's maybe like a present day example, right? Just as unfortunately the Hajjah for real issue, so maybe that's also another example. I think in the book he was speaking about this particular lady who, she ended up destroying many men, right? Because they fell in love with her. And then after that, she'd leave them and she'd cause so many bad things in their kingdom, right? So basically, because they're associated with her, like negative effects came to them. So basically, we're saying they don't associate with infected people. And I guess that present day too, don't associate with people like who are always talking about negative things, who are always talking about challenges, who are always talking about problems. Yeah, so that's it from me.
Yes, so don't associate with the wrong people. Basically, anybody that you come into association with, you need to investigate the person. Don't just allow anybody into your circle because they will infect you. They say work with 4 successful people and you become the 5th person. So associations can be positive and negative. So know who you are dealing with. Basically, that's what they're saying. Priscilla, any opinion on this?
I have a question though.
Pardon me, who is it?
As you associate with the right people, do you lose the wrong people as friends? Do the wrong people start to dislike you because you now associate with a different kind of question?
Well, I mean, from where I sit, if you associate, I mean, the thing is, you need to decide, because how do you know who the wrong people or the right people are in the first place? It's based on a decision that you have made as to which direction you want to go, And I think that's one of the things that is missing. A lot of us, we live our lives, on hope. So yeah, I've prayed and God has given me life. I've woken up today. What does God want me to do? So you yourself, you don't seem to have a plan, but and then you know for a fact that nowadays God doesn't speak like he used to speak. It's like he doesn't shine light and say that, hey, my son, go ye from your family to the land I'll show you. He doesn't speak like that anymore. So you need to come up with sort of a plan and see how that plan aligns with the general plan that he has for you, right? A lot of us are not doing that. A lot of us are just living our life, day to day. Like we don't have a plan for the next 5 years. If anything goes for me, anything goes. So yeah, as God permits, then we are moving, right? So when people come into your life, we don't actually determine the people that come into our life because we are not actively seeking a particular kind of people. And so we don't even know who the wrong people are and who the right people are. That's the first challenge. If you know where you're going, that is when you know who the right person to help you get there is. And then you know who the wrong person will be. So it starts with knowing where you are going. So now, if you do know where you're going, automatically you know which kind of people will not take you there. If I'm trying to be an entrepreneur and all the people in my friend circle are telling me that stop it, don't do it, why am I still engaging with them? So naturally, you yourself, there are people that you must move away from. If that person is not adding anything to the journey to help you get to where you're going, what are you still dealing with that person for? So once you know where you're going, naturally those who don't need to be in your circle will fall by the wayside. So and they themselves will realize that you're going a different path. So they'll start complaining, you nowadays you don't call me anymore, you don't hang out with me anymore. Well, yes, because where I'm going, that's not where you're going. So what am I hanging with you for? You're going to be dead weight. I don't want to carry any dead weight on my shoulders. So they realize and they'll start falling by the wayside small. So it starts with once you make a decision, and it doesn't matter what kind of decision, you are going to lose some people and you're going to gain some people. So you need to make a decision. Decide, I want to go here. And once you say, I mean, even let's use church. If you say you want to take church seriously, you're going to lose some friends. If you say you're going to take clubbing seriously, you are going to lose some friends. So every decision you make, you will lose some people. That's the way life works. Don't try to hold everybody's hand and try to carry everybody along. You never get your destination that way. Irene, you wanted to share something as well?
Yeah, I was saying that they'll start complaining and then just as Dr. Kelvin is saying, naturally they will sort of fade into the background, or your time that you spend with them will not be as much, right? Because first of all, they'll start complaining that you don't have time for them, right? So they'll probably start to call you less, start to maybe like invite you to hang out less, because they've seen that you have been denying such opportunities, right? And then, of course, because like let's say, okay, if it's in the position that okay, so you're trying to develop yourself, because you also know where you want to go, and then know what you need to do to get there, right? You you start to get to a point where you are not 100% bothered as you were used to be about the fact that you are not able to have all the time to hang out with them, right? Because just as Dr. Kelvin said, if you have set your mark and know where you are going, you yourself know that you need to forsake some things for now, and then later on you'll be able to catch up with them. And then of course, as you're going your journey, you also meet more like-minded people, and then they could become the friends that you need. I mean, even if we take a typical look at millionaires today and all people like who have like, should I say, made it, you see that their friends are generally people who are in alignment with them, right? So I guess that it's just a natural part of growing, and then becoming who you truly want to be. Yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
And just to even add to that, you said that people, like-minded people, will come your way. That's not exactly true. You need to go out of your way to find like-minded people. It is your responsibility to find people like you to join you to build your whatever you are trying to do. So that if they don't come your way, like you don't sit down and fold your hand and say that they didn't come. You didn't find them. So we need to take responsibility. That's why it's a decision. You must make that decision. That I want to go to Kumasi. If you want to go to Kumasi, the Kumasi car does not come and pick you from your house. You have to find, if you are going to go to Kumasi and nobody knows that you're going to Kumasi, how will anybody connect you with a car going to Kumasi? That's number one. So even if a friend was going to Kumasi, until you have told the friend that you are going to Kumasi, he or she will not come and pick you from your house. And if it's a bus you are going to pick, you have to get up and go to the bus station. The bus will not come to your house to pick you. And so it's the same way. You decide where you're going. You must find a way to connect with those people who are already there so that they can help you get to that place that you are going. That's the only thing I wanted to chip in. That is your responsibility to find the people. All right. So let's see what the reversal of this one is. It says that the law admits of no reversal, and I agree. Its application is universal. There's nothing to be gained by associating with those who infect you with their misery. Actually, some people call you, some phone calls you receive, and by the time you finish the phone call, you yourself, you are drained. And you see, everybody goes through a downtime every so often, right? But if there's a particular person, that's every call, every engagement with this person is about how terrible their life is. It's about how their mother is sick. It's about how their child broke their little finger. It's about how they got fired. Like every conversation is something that leaves you with some heaviness in your heart. Charlie, that's not the kind of person you want to be engaging with, because at the end of the day, you even get more depressed, because remember, you have your own issues, and now you are carrying that person's issues on top of your issues. You are going to be depressed. So I'm not saying that when somebody comes to you and gives you their misery, cut them off. But if that one particular person is always coming to you with misery, it's like there's never been a call where he's inviting, oh, Charlie, come to my house and let's eat food and just enjoy a football match or something. Every call is a problem. Every call is Charlie, block that person. Why? You can't be carrying somebody's burden. This life is tough. Like somebody he calls you first time, asks you for money, you help the person with the money. He hasn't paid back the money yet though. Then he calls you again and asks you for money again. What's going on? I have my own issues as well, But anyway, so you're a good person, you still go ahead and give the person the money. Calls you again a third time, asking for by the third time, Master. Charlie, I'm blocking you. That's what, and I'll tell you. Listen, I'm not your bank. You haven't put money inside my account. You cannot be calling me for money. Let me give you a classic example. So I have this person. Every time the person needs money, the person calls me. Then some time ago, I asked the person to just share my flyer, my company's flyer, and look for customers for me. Share flyer on social media. This person never shared my flyer. So imagine, you think that we wasted any time with this person again? Of course not. Anyway. So, I mean, it goes without saying that this person has no good intentions for me. All right. So, I mean, we have achieved our target. Our goal was hit law number 10, and we have done that. It has been a very, very great discussion. I'm super excited. I've learned a lot. And thanks to Irene, Nadole, and Priscilla for being here with us, and to, of course, to you online. So as we are leaving, I don't know, Irene and Nadole, if you have any last words. Nadole, did you answer the question well? Let us know as we wrap up.
Oh, you answered it well.
Awesome. Any parting words from Irene or Nadole as we wrap up today's session?
Maybe a point I remember from the last chapter is that it was saying that you should associate with the generous people. I just remembered it again. And I was thinking that, yeah, that's really true. You know, I think that practically all the books we have been reading have been talking about giving, right? And so, I mean, in this sense, like giving to the good cause, it's not like the Dr. Kelvin's person who will share the flyer. But I mean that basically, you know, because like as the books have been reading say, if you give, it will come back to you, right? Like if you invest, if you sow seed, let me say it that way, to come back to you, right? So basically, it was also saying something which interested me and fell in line with all the other finance principles, that you should also stay with friends who are generous, right? Because I think that will also encourage you to be more generous. And then, you know, once you to give to the positive causes, right? I don't know if I'm contradicting myself, but I think that that's another thing that I also noticed from the chapter.
Sometimes it's good to contradict yourself, Chad, don't worry. Now, how about you? Any parting words?
No, please. A little busy.
All right, cool. All right, so thank you very much. So we do this every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. Ghana time. It's always good to have you join us as well, especially those joining us on social media. Good to have you. Hope you've learned a lot. You can leave your comments or feedback. If you want to join the live session on Zoom, you can always send me a message. I'll send you the details and you can jump on with us so we can hear from you as well. Thank you very much and have a fabulous week and a restful weekend, obviously. All right, guys, ladies, see you next week. Make sure that we read the book. We'll discuss.
See you on next week.
So don't be late. Enjoy the week.
Sure. Bye, you too.
Bye.